Hey everybody, I'm Luka, I'm the web lead at Reown, formerly known as Wallet Connect Inc. And today we're going to be talking about the UX of crypto. And more specifically, first we're going to do a short intro of Reown, what it is, talk about the Ethereum UX, some decisions made in the past that influence UX today. We're going to be talking about chain abstraction, and finally, some payments, because payments is the next big thing in crypto. Everybody talks about it, so we have to get it in. OK, I'll do a very short intro. So last year, Wallet Connect, the company, has rebranded to Reown. And now we have two separate entities, Wallet Connect Foundation and Reown, the product company. So what does Reown do? Reown builds SDKs for developers. If you're an app, you would be using AppKit SDK in order to facilitate connections, allow users to connect their wallets. They can connect any wallet via Wallet Connect. They can do social login, everything else. And if you're a wallet, you would be using WalletKit SDK in order to allow users to, well, use Wallet Connect. OK, with the short intro done, let's chat about the Ethereum UX. So a few years back, it was apparent that Ethereum needed to scale, right? Ethereum is not really known as a fast chain. Even today, it's very slow. Block time's roughly 12 seconds, so not really good, and users don't like it. But at the times, it was also very expensive, and this was like really apparent during the bull runs. Right? It became congested, and users not only have to wait for the transactions, but they have to pay a lot, which is not great. The scaling solution Ethereum, I guess, decided on going forward with is the rollups, or L2s, as we know them today. The premise is, instead of scaling the main chain, let's introduce more chains, which means more compute, more storage, and then possibly faster execution for the users, while still relying on some properties from the main chain in order to facilitate security and decentralization somewhat. I guess this decision was good from the point of scaling, right? Because we have chains like Base today, which are really popular, and users use it a lot. It's cheap, it's fast, users love it. But the consequence of this is a screen like this one, which I took a screenshot of a few days ago on one of the most popular dApps we use every day. So what does this screen mean? Why is it important? Now, if I have asset, and I search for USDC as like one of the popular ones, right? Available on pretty much every chain. But my USDC may not be the same as your USDC, because USDC is available on every chain, and even though it might even have the same contract address, but it's a different asset, and that's the key, because it has different storage, it's stored on a different chain. So even if they use Create2 or something else to achieve the somewhat nice developer experience of the same address, it's still a different asset. So this means that if I ask somebody, hey, can you please send me USDC, they would have to ask me, OK, which one? Because what I want might not be what do you have. And just to illustrate like how absurd this is, if we put this into like a real-world example, let's say that I'm in a shop. I want to buy something, right? The price is €5. I go to the cashier, and he tells me, yeah, it's €5. But I only accept like MasterCard euros. And I might go like, yeah, but I have Visa, like my bank issued me a Visa. And he might say, yeah, but you know, too bad. Like I only accept MasterCard euros, so your euros are not same as my euros. Like even bank like can go and say, okay, you have two separate accounts. One is for your MasterCard euros, and the other is for your Visa euros. That's basically what we have in crypto times 15, because like we only have two, maybe three major like card networks if we count Amex. But we have, I don't know how many relevant chains, 20, 25, 15, like whichever number of chains dApps mostly decide to use. So the issue is only worse. OK, I guess enough rant about the problem. Let's talk about the potential solutions, right? So the chain abstraction, so-called, wants to abstract, well, the chain from the user. We can only do so much for developers, because developers always have to be aware of the technical implementation. But does the user need to be aware if they're using Base, Optimism, mainnet Ethereum, if they just want to send their transaction, if they just want to do something? Well, we think not. And chain abstraction is a term is used by many companies. Like many companies are building different solutions, mostly based around smart contracts and resource locking, which is great. It works well. The latency is pretty good, but the issue is the market for smart account is just not big enough. Like even now in Ethereum, the overwhelming majority of transactions are done by EOAs. So what we did here is, if you remember, we have this wallet SDK, which basically every wallet uses if they want to do wallet connect integration. So we thought, OK, what if when you receive a transaction, we can check first, OK, this is a transfer. It spends 10 USDC, and it spends it on Arbitrum, right, as one of the L2s. So what if we can check first, OK, can you execute this transaction? If you can, just do it, as you normally would. And if you can't, what are the steps required in between the receiving the transaction and like sending the transaction in order to be able to do it? And it's usually a bridge. We basically check if there are any routes, if there is something we can do to make this possible. If you have USDC balance across other chains, let's say you do, you have it on Optimism, and then we basically send you a transaction. This is the transaction you need to execute before you can execute the initial transaction. And then you just return back the TXID to the dApp. What's important with this solution? If you notice, all of the lines, all of the steps are over on the wallet side. So as far as the dApp is concerned, I send transaction request, I want it to execute something, and it's executed. I don't care the steps in between. I don't care how the money got there. I only care about my transaction being executed. And that's the only thing that's important for the app. And it's a nice solution. And when we decided to test it out, like 6 months ago, in production, we've noticed actually that not only wallets, but dApps, some of them care about the UX. So what they did is they would block each transaction if they think you don't have balance, right? Because the dApp is not aware that the wallet can do all of this magic in order to facilitate chain abstraction. It just queries the balance directly from the RPC providers, and then it says, oops, you don't have balance, I'm going to gray out the button, because, again, it cares about the UX. It doesn't want to send a transaction that it thinks it will fail, right? So we needed a way to let the dApp know, OK, you can do this. Oops. You can do this. You can do chain abstraction. Please don't gray out the button. Let the transaction pass. And the solution to that is the ERC 7811 wallet get assets method. I'm just going to assume that everybody here is familiar with EIPs, ERCs. No need to go into that. But what it does is it's a dApp to wallet request. So instead of the dApp querying the account balance from the RPC providers like Infura, like Adblock, and the others, we say, OK, please don't do that. Just ask the wallet. Just ask the wallet what is the balance of the account. Why? Because the wallet already has this information, right? It has to have this information. So instead of it just using it for its own purposes, let the dApp know as well. As a result of that, we also allowed the wallet to change this information. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing that's displayed on the Block Explorer. I might have 5 or 6 USDC on mainnet, and I might have USDC on other chains, right? But does the dApp need to know that? If the dApp asks me, what is your USDC balance, I want to return what's my spendable USDC. It doesn't have to be where, like, it doesn't matter where I have it. It doesn't matter what I do with it. I just want to know how much I have to spend. And then that's for example, in this image, it's a sum of all these chains, right? So it still requires some work on the dApp side in order to enable this, right? Because it's not a wallet-only solution. Again, if we're talking about preserving the UX for the users. And we already are rolling out the support for this in our SDK, and we are happy. We've been working with the Ethereum Foundation, Josh, who is leading the interop working group, and they are specifically addressing this problem of interoperability in Ethereum, or lack thereof. And the 7811 is included into the official roadmap. So we do expect more dApps to be online with it pretty soon. And then the wallets who already support and will be supporting the chain abstraction will actually have somewhere to, I guess, use it on. Okay, so with this talk about like UX, we talked about just doing some random stuff, like sending a transaction. But what does that mean, sending a transaction? It could be a swap on Uniswap, right? It could be a deposit into the Aave yield pool. It could be something else. But probably the use case for crypto is payments and facilitating payments. Why? Because it's cheaper for the merchants, right? Merchants don't care like what are the payment rails underneath. They only care about getting the money and paying as like just as less fees as possible. And now they are kind of locked into Visa and MasterCard fees with the bank fees and then whoever facilitates their transaction with them. So the question is, why doesn't every merchant just use crypto if it's so cheap and fast and it's great? Well, it's because of the UX. These are the steps if I was a user and I wanted to do a crypto payment on-chain. First, they would usually ask me, payment service providers, okay, so I accept a few of these currencies. For example, I accept USDC, I accept USDT, I might accept native ETH. So please pick whichever asset you want to send me. I pick USDC, fine. And then, because we have many chains, it asks me, okay, but which USDC do you want to send? I pick Optimism, why not? Third step, connect wallet. Why? Merchants a few years back started with this like QR code scanning. You would scan the QR, you would get the address. But what they noticed is the error rate is pretty big, right? Because the users would usually miss. Like, okay, I might accidentally send the wrong amount or the wrong asset on the wrong chain, and they would go into this reconciliation flow, which is pricey. So the cost of doing business is increasing with crypto because so many mistakes. So now what they do is they force you to connect a wallet, and they prompt the transaction programmatically in order to, well, avoid mistakes. It's cheaper. And then finally, you are prompted to pay after, I don't know, 4 steps and roughly 10, 15 clicks, which is terrible. And I've been talking about the e-commerce. Just imagine doing this into the like point of sale terminal, like in a shop or somewhere, like connecting my chain, like picking which asset, paying, connecting my wallet, while like 15 people are behind me waiting in the line. So like not really feasible. What we built, and this was announced just I think a week ago at this point publicly, CAPE 358 wallet pay method. For those of you unfamiliar with CAPEs, we have VIPs, which stand for Ethereum Improvement Proposals, and CAPEs are chain agnostic improvement proposals. So they are valid for not just Ethereum, but they're cross-chain. So it works with Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Bitcoin, whichever. So what does Wallet Pay do? Again, it's a dApp to wallet interface, and it allows dApps, in this case merchants, payment service providers, to not just request payments, but say, okay, I want to request a payment, but these are the possibilities, these are the payment options I accept. So I accept payment in USDC, on Base, on Optimism, on Ethnet, like Ethereum mainnet, but I also accept Solana, maybe, why not? USDC on Solana. And I transmit all of this information to the wallet. Why? Because it eliminates the choice from the user. User gets all of the possible payment information, and it's available in their wallet, who is aware of the assets user have in their account. So the wallet can already pre-filter some of this, like saying, okay, you probably don't have, you probably can't complete the payment on Base if you have no money on Base. So you can pre-select the default one. And the important thing is, it can also utilize the chain abstraction, the thing we talked about previously, in order to complete the payment options it didn't necessarily think it could do, like the standard flow. So it can say, okay, you don't have USDC on Optimism, you have it on mainnet, and you have it on Base. But I know it's cheaper to bridge from Base than to Optimism, so I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to complete the flow. And after the flow is done, I picked whichever of these options. It's fine. I just let the dApp know, OK, this is the TXID, and this is the option I picked. The dApp is happy. They validate the transaction, which takes unspecified amount of time, depending on the chain. But what is the result? What do we want to achieve? The result is we want to facilitate or enable one-click payments. You will be presented with the Wallet Connect QR code, which in itself, besides the session establishment, contains the payment information. So in one click, when you scan it, if your wallet supports payments, right? If it supports Wallet Pay, it would just do that. It wouldn't go through the connection flow. You would click Approve, and it's done. Basically, you did a crypto payment in one click across any chain. And what's exciting is that this makes possible the POS payments, point of sales, because they would just have to generate the QR. There are no extra steps. There are no extra clicks. Everything is done. But yeah, also like e-commerce is probably still the main, I guess, the main focus here. So point of sale crypto payments are still done with the card, which is honestly a pretty good solution. But yeah, we do hope to see more native crypto payments pretty soon. And as I'm not going to say merchants, as payment service providers roll out native crypto solutions, it's going to be available to more and more merchants. How do we plan to roll this out specifically? Also, recently, we announced something called AppKit Pay. If you remember from the start, AppKit is the SDK tailored for app developers. So if they want to connect a wallet, you would use AppKit. But payment service providers usually have different requirements, right? They don't want to just connect a wallet. They want to do a payment. So we built this different version of AppKit called AppKit Pay, where the payment service providers, merchants, can specify, OK, I want to request a payment in this asset on this chain. And then this is what the users will be presented with. And before we go into this pay with wallet step, I just want to mention this other stuff, pay with Binance and pay with Coinbase. We call it pay with exchange. Why is that important? We did the survey recently, and the result of that basically showed us that roughly 70-something% of the users still hold crypto on centralized exchanges. So we have an agreement with both Binance and Coinbase, and we built this solution. When you click Pay with Binance, it's not going to go through like a withdrawal page, and then you have to fill out the amount, the address, whatever. It's just going to open a payment page with everything pre-filled. You can't change anything. You can't mess up. There is no way to go into this like refund flow with the merchant. You can only click Pay or click Exit. Same with Coinbase. And users actually love that, because the exchanges can also facilitate chain abstraction. Like, they don't care on which chain do you withdraw at. They only care, OK, you have USDC. I'm requested to pay in Optimism, Base, whatever. They're just going to send it. So they are natively facilitating chain abstraction, same as wallets. But this Pay with Wallet button is basically going to become this. When you click Pay with Wallet, the QR code is going to show natively. If you support Wallet Pay, you're going to do a Wallet Pay payment, one click. If not, you would connect a wallet, and you will be prompted to do the payment and pick the chain, pick the asset as usual. So ending this, why are we doing all of this, right? Why do we focus on the UX? Why do we try to make the experience as good as possible? Currently, I don't have the numbers, the exact numbers, but we know that the DeFi crypto products are used by the very small minority of the users compared to the global population. We call them enthusiasts, right? Because they are the only ones who know how to use this. If I go to somebody and say, OK, can you pick a chain? They would ask me what the heck that is. I don't want to know about that. I just want to use the product. So until we build the better UX, and abstract all of these technical terms from the users, from the actual retail customers, so you don't have to be aware of the chains, the assets. We do as much to reduce the number of clicks to do something. And then we're going to see probably, eventually, until this point, I haven't seen a Web3 alternative of the Web2 product that is better. But once we see this, people using Web3 products because they are just better than Web2 products, not because they believe in decentralization, privacy, whatever. They just use it because it's better, faster, cheaper. I don't care if it's Web3, Web2. They just want to use it. Then we're probably going to see some significant usage and specifically payments as well. OK, I think that's all from my side. do we have time for questions? We do. Okay. If there are any questions, okay.
Hi, hello, thank you. Do I need to go through KYC while paying through your app kit via Binance or Coinbase?
That depends on the exchange. Like what we've noticed is because it's done facilitated by the exchange, sometimes they would ask you to do KYC, sometimes not. Depends on the amount, depends on the asset, depends on what you did previously with Binance. If you just deposited like, I don't know, 50K into Binance and decided to do a payment randomly, they would probably force you to do KYC at some point eventually. But yeah, I guess it's completely up to the exchange. They might do this, like ideally they would do KYC with you way before you're into the payment flow and not while you're in it. So you can just complete the payment seamlessly. But yeah, the answer is I guess it depends on the exchange.
Oh, okay, and once I established the connection through, like I paid via my account on Binance or whatever, all further swaps, they will be no KYC, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, again, depends on the exchange, but once you do KYC with Binance, I don't see why would they ask you to do another KYC. So once you do it once, you can just pay in, yeah, how many times you want. It should be fine.
Thanks.
Hello, thank you for your speech. Could you please tell if there are any wallets that already support wallet pay?
Okay, so since we just recently rolled this out as a part of the, I guess, announced it publicly, the plan for Wallet Pay is to make it available into the Wallet Kit SDK. So basically any wallet that supports Wallet Connect is already using Wallet Kit SDK. They would have native support for payments. There's still a small amount of work left for the wallet to be done. If they want to, again, preserve the user experience for the user, they will have to build a nice payment UI. They will have to ensure that it's in one click. After you click approve, some success, nice touch is done. So we are talking with many wallets who are very, very interested in this. And yeah, I would say some implementations are going to be public really soon.
Sounds cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luka. My name is Evgeny. I have two questions. First, what about risk and security? Because every breach, it's a risk for losing data or even coins. And the second, do you have, I don't know, target audience on which you test your UX?
Okay. So for the first one, I'm assuming you're asking about exchanges, right? Like you're asking, what if somebody steals my exchange account and does payment? Well, ideally, you would have something like passkey or something set up. So again, it's not something that we can influence. We just talk with Binance in order to do this. And they would be the ones ensuring the security and I guess, yeah, the data privacy of this flow. And for the second question, who are we talking to? So the customers for this currently are payment service providers, which means companies that facilitate payments. Think about it like Stripe, CoinGate, similar. So those are the customers we're targeting, and on the other side, wallets. So at this point, we didn't open this up to merchants, so you couldn't implement this just as a merchant trying to accept payments. You would have to work with payment service providers. But it's definitely something that we are thinking about, like just opening this up to everybody. And of course, every wallet can use Wallet Pay. There are no limitations. It's an open standard, which is the whole point. Everybody can use it.
Okay. I have a question here on the right side.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
What is the backbone of the system? So I suppose there is some settlement layer there, like either like a cross settlement or like I would assume some settlement roll-up or something that is managing that, or I think even Uniswap is developing something that is chain agnostic, like I think it's called Tribunal. So I want to hear more about like what is the tech behind the whole chain abstraction, because I think that is the main issue here. Because if you don't, because of the root finding and optimization of the fees.
Okay. Let me go back to the beginning. Okay. Wait. This one. Okay. So the tech behind chain abstraction is currently we work with different providers in order to facilitate this. We don't like hold assets ourselves. We are not liquidity providers. There are many other companies who are, think Across, and different ones. So what we do now is we communicate with Across, and we ask them, hey, can you fulfill this? And if you can, we use their solver network in order to facilitate chain abstraction. And then basically, it's settled on chain. So it depends on which chain you're doing it, from which to which one. So it also depends on how fast it is.
So basically, you're like connected with the cross settlement, and you use their tech in order to optimize the UX. Am I getting that right?
I'm going to say that we use different providers. So we don't use one provider specifically like Across. We currently use multiple of them, I think 4. And we use them depending on the chain specifically. So if it's a USDC, we know Circle is going to offer the best transfer with their own bridging service. So we just communicate with Circle and we tell them, hey, how do you do this? Give me a quote. And after they do it, we build a transaction. So for the wallet, how does this look like? For the wallet, you receive a list of transactions. And it says, OK, these are the intermediary steps required in order for the initial intent to be completed. So you need to execute this transaction first. You don't care from where it is, if it's from Circle, Across, whoever. You just need to do this, and then you can do the first one. So that's how we expose this interface to the wallets.
Hello.
Yep.
I've got a question about the abstraction of the transaction fees. Do you have a way for the end user to know exactly how much he's going to pay in transaction fees, or the seller?
That's a very good question. So when we communicate with the providers, specifically for chain abstraction, we do ask for quote, and we do incorporate this into the transaction fee. At least this is the guidance we give to wallets. I should have, I guess, put some wallet screen here. The guidance we give to wallet is this is the bridging fee. We give you this information. Please sum it up and display just transaction cost to the user. Don't display bridging fee, TX fee, blah, blah, 5 different fees. Or try to do something like, if you're a smart account, do paymasters, abstract this from the users completely. But yes, there is a cost associated with the action, of course, because it's an on-chain action. And we do need to think carefully about how do we present this to the users.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.